Rants. Like and subscribe. Can we touch on a classic episode today? Please? Like, I'm asking. You know? Can we touch on a classic episode? Please? Today, we're going to do season 1, episode 8. A Shirt Story. You guys remember this episode, right? It was an episode where Denise was asked to perform a task and she agreed to it, and she failed to deliver. You know, that's the soundtrack of Denise Huxtable's life, right? You know? And before we even start the actual episode, right? Before we get into the actual episode, right? We have to talk about Gordon Gartrell, the brand, first. Okay? Now, before I get into this fly stuff, because rants get fly. Y'all don't know that, but rants can get fly. And where I'm from, right, we like to think that we are some of the flyest people in the entire country. You know, in the entire planet. You know? And shout outs to, my man T-Money, 86. With a name like T-Money, I know you get fly. I know you do. So shout outs. Shout outs to my man Mumbo Sauce. He actually gave me a vintage Gordon Gartrell catalog. Yeah. Rants is plugged in. Shout outs to my man Mumbo Sauce. Yeah. Matter of fact, let's nip this in the bud too, right? I understand you guys saw this episode before, right? And you know me, I'm going to show some pictures, okay? You only saw the yellow and navy colorway, okay? There's endless flavors of this Gordon Gartrell silk shirt, you know? Like, and then don't even let me get, like, they had the wool, they had the cashmere. You know that the cashmere was like the purple label. That would be compared to like the purple label Ralph Lauren. Let me just break this down because y'all, I can tell y'all not hip, right? Let me break this down for y'all, right? Understand some fashion stuff, right? We're dealing with high-end, high-quality fashion, okay? So we're talking about the mid-'80s, right? 84, right? This is when Theo's coming up. You have groups like the Lowlifes, right? Endless Polo, right? Endless Ralph Lauren, right? But see, what you don't know is they had groups like the Gartrellos. Yeah, see, all right. Rants don't really talk about these type of people, right? You know, I keep it, I stay in my lane. Let's just say that, right? So I'm gonna show some pictures, right? But I have to explain to you the type of brand that Gordon Gartrell is, right? Like the type of people that wears this stuff, right? Now I can't name these people, but you guys can get the picture, right? Some of them I can, but most of them I can't. Let's just say that, right? But you have the Gartrellos first, right? Now these people, like it was back in the day, high-end drug dealers, let's just say, right, would throw champagne parties, cabarets in a sense, right? And, you know, they partying, listening to their Cameo, you know, whatever's popping, right? And they all rocking, like the Gordon Gartrell, it's the uniform for the high-end dude that's out there in the streets getting money. And it's different flavors. Like, come on, man. Like, Keith Sweat had one on. Please. When Keith Sweat came out with that red one, psst. What? You kidding me? You have other people that wore it too. Magic Johnson in the cashmere. Like, that's magic with Cookie. Prime Magic. Come on now. You see the chains these dudes wearing? And you see what they got on? So you have to understand why Theo wants this shirt in the first place. High-end, high quality. Theo wanted the silk. He know he can't get the cashmere. He opted for the silk. And I guess that leads us to the episode, right? Let's talk about it. And yeah, I mean, the show starts off, you see Cliff, he's reading the newspaper, chilling, starts to sneeze a little bit. Then Theo and Claire walks in. Cliff's like, well, how was shopping? Theo's like, well, we only got into one fight. Claire said, it started from when we left and it hasn't finished yet. You know, Cliff's like, well, what you mean? What happened? She was like, yeah, I took him to Bookman's. He told me I couldn't go in. Theo's like, well, Dad, it's a men's wear store, you know. She's going to want to go in the dressing room with me. And Cliff is like, okay, so this is the shirt you was telling me about. Did you see it, Claire? And Claire was like, I saw it through the window. And Theo like, look, at first I felt funny charging your card, Dad. But after I told them I was your son, they said no problem. And Cliff is like, well, you know, they love me at Bookman's. I make their clothes look good. You know, I get all my sweaters from there. You got to remember, Bookman's is similar to Barney's, right? You know? And then we see the yellow and navy colorway that Theo cop, right? Of the Gordon Gartrell, right? And he's so excited. He tells his parents, ooh, wait till Christine sees me in this. Oh my gosh, you know, we going on a date and whatnot. And Cliff is like, yeah, you know, Bookman's, they got nice clothes. So how much was it? And then Theo starts to throw Cliff off, right? He's telling them like, yeah, look at the label. It's Gordon Gartrell. You see the hidden button, the flap on the back, the two-tone pockets, and it's silk. And Cliff is like, okay, how much is it? And Theo is like, look, Dad, if you want quality, you're going to have to pay for it. And Cliff is like, forget this. Let me find this receipt. And then when he finds the receipt, he's like, wow, Theo, this shirt is $95. And don't worry, Rants got you. We did the inflation calculator, right? $95 in 1984 when this episode came on is equivalent to $304.50 today. So yeah, high-end fashion, right? I think you guys understand what type of people's wearing these pieces now, right? And Claire hears that. She's like, oh my God, I'm sure there's a pair of pants with it, right? And Theo's like, Dad, the salesman said this will last a lifetime. And if I live to be 90, that's about $1 a year. And Cliff is like, look, Theo, I hear all that, but I'm a doctor and I don't have a $95 shirt, which is a lie. Because Cliff has endless sweaters, you know. But he's just trying to prove a point to his son, right? And Theo's like, well, you should want better for your son. You know, come on now. And Cliff is like, okay, I hear you. Well, how about you trade your room for that shirt? Since it's that sweet to you, right? And Theo's like, no, that's cool. And Cliff's like, cool. Well, the shirt's going back. And Theo's like, Dad, you don't understand. I told Christine I was getting a Gordon Gartrell. And then Cliff is like, well, tell Christina you a liar. No 14-year-old boy should be wearing a $95 shirt unless he's on stage with his 4 brothers. And Cliff's like, look, here's $30. You know, we got the inflation calculator out, right? That's equivalent to $96.16, okay? And Theo has the audacity to be like, Dad, really? And Cliff's like, well, take 5 since you weren't grateful. And Theo's like, look, Dad, I can't even get a Gordon Gartrell tie with $30. And Cliff is like, do you know this dude personally? Because I've never met this guy a day in my life. Now take these $30 and these nice, cool, small face bills and get yourself a nice shirt. And Theo like, well, can I get 35? And Cliff like, you can get nothing. And Theo takes the 30 as he should, right? You know? And now we see Theo having a crazy snack. Theo was about to have massive gas, right? This man poured a cup of whole milk from a Kool-Aid pitcher, right? They just got the milk just open in the refrigerator, right? Just wide open. And then he has the audacity to get a red, delicious apple out the fridge. I'm sure you guys already know. These are the worst apples, by the way, okay? But anyway, Denise, she sees him. She's like, where's the Gordon Gartrell shirt? And Theo's like, Dad's making me take it back because it's $95. And Denise, she's hating on the low. She's like, yeah, those shirts are overpriced. Theo tells her, no, you don't understand. That shirt fit me perfect. I got so many compliments at the store. And it shows off my upper body. And, she's hating as usual. She's like, but it's $95. And Theo's like, I don't care. A girl like Christine deserves a man like me in a shirt like that. And Denise is like, well, I can make you a shirt like that. I took sewing. And Theo said, well, I took English and I got a D in it. And that was a very great comparison. Because what grade did Denise really get in sewing? And I know, right? But let's be realistic. Like, she barely got a C. And you guys are about to see why, right? So Denise is like, look, I'm telling you, Theo, it's not that hard. All I need is the material and just follow the pattern. And Theo is like, this isn't a regular shirt. This is a Gordon Gartrell. This is the greatest shirt in the world. And it's great because it costs $95. And here go Denise, still hating. You're just putting gas in Gordon's Rolls Royce. Theo, you should gamble on your sister. Trying to hustle him, right? And Theo's like, are you sure you can make this shirt? She's like, yes. He's like, by Saturday, though. I need it by Saturday. She's like, yes. Theo's like, is it going to look exactly like an authentic Gordon? I need that. And she never said yes. She never said yes to that, right? She said, well, the Gordon is $95. I can make it for $25. Oh, and we got the inflation calculator. That's equal to $80.13 today, right? And Theo offers her the whole $30 like an idiot. And right here is when you see Theo get cheated out of his money by his own sister. His own sister. Denise is like, this guy's a sucker. As soon as he walks off, like, sucker. Counts his money, right? And the next scene, you see Cliff's laying down because he's sick, which explains why he was sneezing earlier, right? And Theo walks in and he says, Dad, it's okay if you take the shirt back. As if he had a choice, right? Like, that's not your money, Theo. But anyway, he's like, yeah, Denise is making me one just like it. And Cliff is like, who? My daughter Denise? The mess up? And Theo's like, yes, she's going to make me a replica of a Gordon Gartrell. And it only costs $30. And you see Cliff laughing, because he knows his daughter. He knows his daughter just swindled his son. And Claire calls in Denise, right? And she's like, you making Theo a shirt? She's like, yes, a Gordon Gartrell. And Claire's trying to explain to Denise, like, it's not easy to make a shirt, sweetie. And Denise is like, I have a flair for designing. Remember I made that party dress? And Claire's like, who made it? Like, didn't you put zippers on it? And then Cliff was like, yeah, there's no sleeves on a party dress either. And then, Denise, she's like, you guys bring up old stuff as if you don't have any faith in me, as if she didn't just bring up the damn party dress, right? And Claire's like, we didn't say you couldn't make it. You just never finished anything you've ever started. See, you start off excited, but then as soon as you're faced with like a challenge, you quit. And you clearly didn't get that poor, unsuccessful mindset from me and your father, because we're successful. And Denise is like, huh? And Claire and Cliff, they're taking turns. They're like, yes, Denise, you don't remember ice skating, guitar lessons, skiing, tennis, ballet, yoga, pottery. We wasted a lot of money on you. And Denise was like, but I promised Theo this shirt. And I'm going to finish it without your help. And it storms out. Like, all right. Like, like, who is she? And then next, you see Denise working on the shirt, right? And Theo walks in. And he brings her a nice little snack, right? But it ended up only being 3 grapes. And he's hounding Denise. He's like, yeah, where you at on the shirt? She's like, yeah, I'm on the sleeve. He like, let me see that. All over her shoulder. Denise like, I can't work like this. And Theo's excited. He's like, look, I got a picture of Christine. And he like, look, don't we look great together? And Denise says, relax, Theo. I can tell you worried. You think I don't know what I'm doing? You think this not going to look like authentic Gordon Gartrell? And you think it's not going to be done by Saturday? And Theo is like, duh, I'm 14 and I don't believe in you, Denise. And she's like, relax, I got the material. It's going to be done by Saturday. And then kicks Theo out the room. And then you see she messes up on the sleeve, which is a sign of things to come, right? And in the next scene, you see Claire boiling water because she don't cook, right? And you see Denise, right? And Claire's like, what, you taking a break, Denise? And Denise just gets a red delicious apple out the refrigerator, right? And just goes into like a nervous breakdown. She's like, I don't have enough time. I don't think I have enough time. And Cliff walks in and she tweaks out on him, you know? And she's like, Dad, I don't think this is going to be done by Saturday. And then she asks Cliff for $10, right? Which is equal to $33 today. And he gives it to her because he became a doctor and had a lot of kids because he knew one would be a mess up. And he knew he would have to clean up their mess, right? Cliff's just been passing out money all episode. But that's what Cliff does, right? As if Claire doesn't work. She's a lawyer, but oh well, right? You know, this is before it was an equal world, I guess, right? And next scene, you see Denise. She's boxing up the masterpiece. And Theo rushes into the room, right? And she's like, wow, you're wearing cologne? God, you smell like the whole bottle. And Theo says, look, they're going to be here any moment. Is this the shirt? And Denise is like, yeah, this is it. And you see Theo. He takes it and runs in the room, right? And now we see Vanessa, right? And Vanessa's just here for a brief second. She's just there to hold small talk with Denise until Theo finds out the inevitable. Oh, and he does. Oh, he definitely does. He walks in there and he's like, look at this damn shirt. I paid $30 for this. This don't look like a damn Gordon Gartrell. The sleeve's not even. Denise, I hate this damn shirt. You a loser. You're not going to amount to nothing, Denise. I wouldn't be surprised if you dropped out and you took care of another woman's daughter. And Denise throws the pillow at him, right? And gets in her feelings saying, don't ask me to make you anything again. And I'm thinking like, well, he didn't ask you, Denise. You offered. And he paid you. You know? But this is why nobody believes in Denise anyway. See? And granted, she does have a little sex appeal. I think everybody can admit that, right? And that end up working out for her. But at least Vanessa's smart. Vanessa's annoying too, but she's smart. You know? Denise is not even smart. Just a sexy light-skinned chick, right? But I know, off topic, nonetheless. Let me get back on topic, right? The next scene, right? You see Claire get the door. And you see someone looks similar to Dwayne Wayne. But no, that's Philip Washington and his date, Melinda James. And then we see Christine, who's a baddie. Baddie alert. Baddie alert. Yeah, baddie. And when Phil sits down, Rudy's like, oh, that's a nice shirt. He says, thank you. It's a Gordon Gartrell. You know, just showing off. You know, because Melinda's right there, right? And if you look close, you can see Philip got last season's Gordon. Yeah, Theo had this season's with the extra pocket. But that's neither here nor there, though, right? Now, getting back, you see Cliff in the kitchen. He's taking out some turkey wings for dinner because he's always cooking, right? And Theo walks down with his champagne party shirt on, right? And he got the same stretched out arms pose. Like, what do you want from me? King Kong ain't got nothing on me. That's the pose he's doing, right? And Cliff is trying hard not to laugh because he knows his daughter's a mess up. He already knows. And Theo starts to hyperventilate. He's like, Christine's in the next room. You know, I can't wear this. And Cliff is cracking up. And Cliff tells him a story. He's like, you know, Theo, you gave me an ugly tie before for Father's Day. And I had to wear it. And Theo's like, look, I don't care about that right now, okay? This is Christine in the other room, right? I can't wear this shirt. I will do anything, Dad. I will do anything. You know, I will wash dishes. I will clean up the basement. You let me know. I will do it. Okay? And Cliff is like, look, calm down. if you look upstairs, there's a box and there's a shirt in it. And Theo's like, a Gordon Gartrell? He's like, yes, I never took it back. I kept it. And Theo's excited again. He's like, well, how did you know? You know, everything was going to be messed up. And he tells Theo, Denise is my daughter. I know she's a mess up. I'm just here with the paper towels to clean it up, Theo. And then Theo hugs him. Because Cliff saved him from some trauma. Or did he? See, because Theo got a little too excited, didn't he? And then he walked right out that door into that room and he was embarrassed all over again. And I don't know if you guys remember, Cliff tried to save him. He walked in, he was like, take my shirt off, Theo. That's my favorite shirt. And Theo said, no, it's okay. And then he went to Christine, he was like, this is my shirt. And Philip was like, well, look, maybe you got it on inside out, Theo. And Christine was like, she's a trendsetter. She was like, no, it's cool. It looks like the new Itchy Amarada. This shirt is hot, Theo. And Theo, he switches up. He's like, yeah, well, why you think I'm wearing it? And Claire like, Theo, wear a jacket. And Theo like, huh? I'm not covering up my Itchy Amarada. And right before he leaves, he runs upstairs and he tells Denise, he's like, thanks, Christine loves this shirt. And Denise like, oh, she must have good taste. And Theo gives her a hug. Then he's like, come downstairs. And he introduced Denise to his friends and tells them, she made this shirt for me. And Philip, who's clearly selling packs, he's getting a little bit of money, right? He asks Denise, hey, you think you can make one for me? And Cliff cancels that dream. He's like, no, that's a one-on-one. And then you see Theo and his friend, they leave the baddies in the house. Because in all actuality, everybody, they was only trying to impress themselves with these shirts, okay? That's all they was trying to do. They didn't even care about the baddies. They just wanted a Gordon Gartrell shirt to impress another male. You would be surprised what a male would do out here, right? You'll be surprised. And then you see the show ends with Cliff, Baby, and Denise instilling great thoughts in her head. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. But see, none of that is going to matter, right? Because that girl is going to have y'all raising a little girl that's not y'all blood in the upcoming seasons. And I mean, it's rants, right? The fall off of Gordon Gartrell, the brand. I mean, they're still out there. You may see people wear them. I know my man, Mickey Lewis, he wore one to his prom. And that was like back in 2000, but it was still vintage then, right? But nonetheless, though, just like any other good thing, and I don't want to stereotype anybody, but yeah, the Asians, yeah, they got to it, and they started bootlegging the Gordon Gartrells. But you didn't hear that from me, and I didn't say that too loud, right? Like and subscribe. Randumb Rants.